Welcome back to another Monday. I'm sitting here hanging out with you guys today, not feeling very good. I'm getting that bug that I think everybody's getting right now. My kid's been sick. I'm getting sick. So tis the season, a little bit late, I think, rolling into February. So today's topic, you guys, is going to be making 10K a month with three properties. I think this has been a topic that I've talked about many times. In fact, this is what I really started my career off of, is being able to have a couple different properties, being able to make some cash from that. And it's something that is definitely obtainable. I know a lot of people hear these kind of stories where you'll have gurus that'll come on and say, or you'll swipe on Instagram, you'll see somebody say, make 10K a month and blah, 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 blah. So that's such a thing. But this is a strategy that I've used, that I've watched many other people use. It takes time, it takes energy, but 100% it can be done. It's doable. It is not a get rich quick scheme. It is being extremely intentional about who you're going after, how to do it, and we'll break down all that stuff today. Properties I look for, what I look at. In fact, I'm going to be having a YouTube video in the next probably 2 weeks coming out, where I literally go look at these properties that we're going to be talking about today, and how I'm making a 10K from just three doors, a little bit more than 10K. It's right around 12,000. But it's obtainable, it's possible, it's real, it's no BS. And it's something we'll talk about today. But before I get started anything, just to give everybody a heads up, I'm having the baggest, the biggest, the best midterm rental summit on the planet. It's actually April 27th through April 29th. That's in literally 75 days from today. So if you haven't got tickets yet to that, it's in the beautiful city of San Diego. Head over to the midtermrentalsummit.com. If you want to learn about midterm rentals, be around other people that are doing this exact same thing. And I talk about this a lot, but one of my favorite things about, not only having an event, but going to events, is networking. And as I've talked about many times, midterm rentals is a community where you connect with other people, where you could share referrals with each other. And I feel like it's one of the most powerful positions to be in, because you get to leverage other folks and their connections by being in these groups and these connections. So, urging you guys, if you haven't already, head over to midtermrentalsummit.com and check out what we have going on in April 27th to 29th in San Diego. Get your tickets. I believe the price is going up in a couple weeks. I think for actually on the 28th of this month, the price is going to go up. Right now, it's early bird special, which we're 3 months away. It's not really that early, but just get your tickets. We'll see you guys there, which I'm excited about. And if you haven't, this is another update. If you haven't yet watched the YouTube video where I create four accounts, they're fake accounts with Airbnb, and book a property, you should go check it out, because it's scary. I'm gonna actually have to have a call on this. We're gonna have to do a midterm Monday on this specific topic one day, especially if you're renting your property for 30 days at a time. You need to get a solid lease in place, because you never know who's actually staying at your property. And it was kind of scary to be able to see that that test that I conducted actually worked, and it's it's pretty scary. Go check out the video. It's about 12 minutes long, but I do believe once you watch that YouTube video, I know about renting a property with a fake ID on Airbnb. It's scary to think about. So anyway, go check that out. It's really cool. It was a fun video to make, and I think you guys will definitely learn from it. So today we're going to be talking again, as I mentioned earlier, how to make $10,000 from just a couple properties. And this is a formula that I've been using for quite some time. It's one of my favorites, but I just want to give you guys simple math. Each property needs to generate between $3,000 to $4,000 a month per door. Your expenses like utilities, mortgage, and all that stuff. I mean, it really just depends on the property. I'm going to give you guys some breakdowns of my properties and what I usually look for, and how I'm actually earning what I'm earning. Um, but again, on these three properties, you want to make sure that you're hitting cash flow of around $3,000. And I know what you guys are probably thinking right now, like, how the hell does anybody make $3,000 a door? We're going to be breaking that down today. When I first made my first couple grand off a door, it was pretty crazy to think about. And I just didn't move on it fast enough. But again, today we're going to be talking about how to really be intentional about the companies and agencies and insurance, temporary housing companies that you're talking to, so that you can leverage and make that cash from these kinds of doors. Which again, I think is pretty freaking wild. So as you guys know already, midterm rentals Higher, they have higher cash flow than what you would consider long-term rentals. Most people that I talk to, and I've like interviewed hundreds of people that own long-term rentals, most average long-term rentals generate between 100 and $400 a month. And midterm rentals outperform that because we're attracting higher rents. Midterm rentals or furnished properties. The reason being is because we're taking the risk of having somebody in a property that is maybe 1 or 2 or 3 months. When your traditional long-term rental operators, they want to have the leverage of, having somebody in there for a year and then forgetting about them, collecting rent every single month. They do not want to have the stress that comes along with listing on platforms, with, um, you know, vetting every single guest that comes in. Long-term rental folks, they don't really think like that. So this is a completely different kind of mindset. You need to make sure that you're adapting as you're getting into this space. And as I'm talking about this, feel free to ask questions. I believe I have the chat box here. You guys are watching this live. Say what's up. I love to say hi to people that are on this. And again, if you have any questions as I'm moving along through this, we'll talk about it. Just make sure to throw it in the chat box. I think I could see everybody's chats, but maybe not. So again, if you are here, say hi, and you're on during the live call, say hi in there. Um, Anywho, let's go ahead and jump back into this. The long-term rental folks, again, they don't want to deal with the turnover that comes along with this. So, hey, Christina. So I feel like again, we're working with a different type of operator, and the first thing that I can say that if you guys are getting into this space is you have to start thinking about this like a business. And what I actually mean by that is you need to know what kind of money you're bringing in. You need to know what business acronym is. You need to know what your long-term rental markets are doing, what they're actually bearing. Is the prices adjusting at all? Is there certain markets that get paid a certain amount? You're going to have to learn how to run the numbers on or connect with a property manager in your market so you could find out exactly if you're buying a property, what that long term rental rate is. The reason why I bring this up is because so many operators that I know, both short and midterm rental operators, I'm lumping myself into this group because I have done this before. I will buy a property or have bought a property based off of the short and midterm numbers and not necessarily the long term numbers. That's a bad idea and a bad move because for whatever reason, if these markets don't work, what are you going to do with your property if it's negative cash flow, $700? Your mortgage payment is, doesn't cover those bills. So I think at this point in my investing career, I'm okay with a property that I might pay out of pocket if I need to for whatever reason. But I know that a lot of people out there, I can't handle 3 to 5, 6, 700, $1,000 a month that you be negatively cash flowing if you happen to go into the long term space. So I'm encouraging guys to make sure that you're running numbers, understanding your market, what it's actually going to be paying. It's a big deal. I think again, a lot of people don't necessarily think about that as they're getting involved in this space. You need to. And the problem about this with this too is that there's the long-term market right now. It's hard to find anything that fits the 1% rule, right? Which is if you buy a property for 100,000, it's going to give you 1,000 in rent. That's really hard to find these days. I know there's pockets in the Midwest. Definitely here in California, we do not have that luxury. Um, I think out of most of the properties that I have now, we cash flow. I would cash flow from long term rental, but I bought them back from 2015, up until now. And the properties that I bought back in 2015 are definitely going to cash flow. So keep in mind, real estate's a long game. It is not a short game. Let's talk about finding the right property. So you guys already know why midterm rentals. We just talked about that. Cash flow is going to be higher. But finding the right properties, I think, is going to be really important. We've talked about this before. I'm going to continue to preach on this. You want to make sure that you're in high demand areas. So near hospitals, business hubs, relocation hotspots where I've even noticed where like Philadelphia is one of them, right? We just had the Eagles that won the Super Bowl yesterday. Not a big football fan, but happy for those Eagle fans out there. And I'm actually glad that Taylor Swift's team didn't win. So there's that. Sorry to knock on all the Kansas City fans out there, but wasn't a big fan of Kansas City in the first place. So anyway, you want to make sure that you're looking for these high attraction areas. What I was going to is actually Philly has a lot of properties that were built in the early 1900s. A lot of those older properties that were built at that time frame, wire issues, properties burn, um, bad. My brain is like off today, guys. I'm sorry, I'm sick, but the piping in those houses is old, and there's just a lot of issues. In fact, I just recently had an issue with the property that I had. It's a 1900s property, even though it was built from the ground up. had a massive spill. Actually, a line break underneath the property flooded into the basement, the backyard, big old mess. Thankfully, my um, gardener was at the house to notice it right when it happened, because if not, this place was vacant and it probably would have been really bad if he didn't get out there. So keep in mind, like that's stuff I look at. If I'm investing in a market, what type of homes are there? What type of clients am I going to go after? I really love healthcare and hospital centers. Like those are big deals to me. They give me the opportunity to connect with different people, doctors, medical staff, engineers, IT consultants. If we're talking about business hubs or corporate districts, that's really big. Construction and infrastructure project sites, massive. I'm looking at those. Insurance claim, again, just I mentioned a minute ago, every 88 seconds in the US, somebody files a claim for their property. So these are random, right? They happen all over the place. The Our insurance claims are also the highest paying out of any other type of client. So keep in mind, if you're going to be working and wanting to get these higher paying folks, it's typically that. But again, you got to make sure that you gauge your market. And I'm going to give you guys a little breakdown of my property. If your mortgage is $2,000 a month, you need to rent your property for at least $5,500 after expenses to be able to cover, so you can get that $3,000 a month profit. So, and you need to rinse and repeat that across three different properties. And as I mentioned a minute ago, the highest paying corporate or the highest paying travel niches or tenant niches or client niches, I hate that word, by the way. Corporate housing, relocation, and business travelers. That's a big one. The rent is typically 2x on those. So I really find it to be important if you guys are going to be looking at that, like who's actually the consultants or executives or IT professionals that are on assignment in your market. How do you find them? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. How do we actually attract them into our property? Do we work directly with corporate housing or HR departments or relocation agencies? Yes. And offer flexible lease terms, because that's one of the biggest and most important things if you're wanting to get corporate relocation and business travelers. The best thing you could do is have a flexible lease terms, because again, at the end of the day, these companies want to make sure that they have flexible terms. Again, going back to what the long-term rental operator doesn't want, they don't want to be flexible. They don't want to deal with this stuff. They want to deal with long-term tenants, which is why they make a fixed amount. And we make a lot more because we're taking that risk on, which is the risk of vacancy, which you guys are going to have if you're in the midterm rental space. It's just part of the game. I'm not going to break that down too much today, but relocation can also mean families that are relocating into different markets. It could be consultants, as I mentioned a minute ago, IT professionals that are moving from one job site to another job site. A new company's opening up, let's just say Austin, Texas. Somebody's from California. They're moving out there. They're going to check it out. They're going to want to have a decent place that offers flexible lease terms. Another thing, too, is that when you're wanting to 2x, 3x your properties, you have to make sure that not only do you have flexible lease terms, but you also have high end furnishings, and you want to think about premiums for tenants or clients, because I believe that in the midterm space and even the short-term rental space, we see it that the nicer the property, a lot of times the higher the amount you're going to get, because you're actually serving a specific type of client that's going to pay a little bit more from those things. Not that every property needs to have that, but I do find if you have premium, you know, assets in the home, that you are going to have a bigger input with income coming in. So really encourage that. And the second part of this is I just talked about this a minute ago, which is insurance, housing, displaced tenants. These typically range from 3x, 4x, 5x long-term rental rates, which could be crazy. I think about it all the time. And keep in mind, these are families that have been displaced due to fires, floods, some kind of catastrophic event. Where do we actually find these clients? Insurance housing companies, placement firms like ALE Solutions, Dan Housing, THD Healthcare, Sedwig. Those are all temporary housing companies. Super important to make sure that you are going to those companies' databases on their websites, inputting your property in. And if you want a pro tip on this, you want to make sure that you're going on LinkedIn. This is something I've been doing for years now, and reaching out to these folks that work for these companies and just say, hey, I reached out to you. I inputted my property in the market. I want to be of service to you and your folks in your market. If you network with people in your market, I would say we have X amount of properties in this market right now. I would love to be able to help you somewhere, wherever that you may need housing. Like I want to be a connector. That's really a good piece there. When you start thinking about connecting one person to another, you can make money doing that. But these displaced tenants, it's really hard if you are calling these relocation specialists and being specific about your property because at the end of the day, they just don't care about your place. But if you're like, hey, I want to connect with, I want to just help you find housing. You're looking for somewhere in the middle of Iowa. Let me take my time to go find that for you. I'm going to go on Furnish Finder. I'm going to message people on Airbnb. I'm going to try to actually help you get your place booked or get that property booked for that family that's lost a home. Now, you see, by doing that, it allows you to build that relationship with that client, with that relocation specialist. And this isn't just relocation specialists. This is across the board with all these different types of companies, all these traveling staff professionals, everything that we're talking about right now. If you adapt that principle, the likelihood of you winning in this goes up exponentially. So, yeah, make your unit ready to move in quick. Make sure it's stocked with, fast Wi-Fi, stocked with all the kitchen goods, family friendly setups, pets, backyards that have fenced backyards. I would also recommend having a um, bathtub in the house. Families, kids like taking baths, and if you're going to be housing those families, it's definitely something to think about. I just got a message here from Christina. Let's see what she says. I'm going to share this on the screen real quick. Hopefully, I don't go too off topic. She says, I have just launched my midterm rental in Southern California. It's listed in about 15 different platforms. Most of them bring corporate housing hubs. I've tried to connect with about 30 relocation specialists on LinkedIn. Every person that is intrigued on claims that I didn't get, every person that has inquired on claims that I didn't get. I've reached out individually. There was a SpaceX opportunity for college students coming to intern over the summer for 3 months, but I'm holding out to help a family from fires that will bring more money and longer stay. Coming up on my third mortgage payment and no bookings. I'm staying positive, but very anxious. I would say this, Christina, I wouldn't hold off because this is a big thing with the insurance temporary housing. It's got to be the perfect storm, which is like somebody's got to lose their home in your market. It's kids got to go to the same school. There's a lot of variabilities. Families got to walk it. They got to like it. Um, I would say that our success rate on temporary housing is if we get 10 inquiries, I probably will land one of those 10. That's how I want you guys to think about this. One of my students does over 100. He gets 100 over 100 something leads a month, and he's averages anywhere between 7 and 10% of those leads. So keep in mind when you guys are getting these insurance temporary housing leads, just because you get them doesn't mean they're going to land. So I would really be thinking about having a bunch of different clients. Christina, what you have going on right now is what I hear from people all the time. It's because they're not splitting. Like, if we think about a pie chart, you're just looking at 95% insurance temporary housing claims. That's how you get stuck because again, if you're waiting for one of these claims to come, it's so hard. And yeah, you can reach out to people like you are on, um, like you mentioned on LinkedIn. Again, it's has to be that specific market that you're going to be running into these problems. So I'd urge you to really think about multiple different clients to go after, like we're talking about now. The SpaceX opportunity, college students, if you're able to cover your mortgage and make some cash, I would take that. I wouldn't hold anything out. Again, I've watched this happen. I've done this myself before too, where I'm just like, I'm going to wait for a little bit longer. You might not get another claim, but you also do have the ability to get another one. So it sounds like you're listed on the platforms, which is great. You just need to start focusing now on outbound messages, outbound calls, outbound connections with people in your market. If you're in Southern California or in one of the hot spots of midterm rentals or short term in general, just so many people are going out there. Now it's just actually doing a little bit of the legwork of how you can actually start to get bookings. And I'd ask you this, Christina, does your market allow you to short term rent? If it does, I would piggyback on that. I would do a little bit of short and midterm stays, or maybe do 7 days minimum. Just get some cash coming through. You could bundle that up on your Airbnb account where you can maybe have, 1 week you're allowed 7 days. You can kind of mess around with it. But I'll do a video on this because I think that's another really important topic, how to put your calendar together. But that's what I'd be focusing on right now, how you can actually help. If you're going after a relocation specialist, how can you help them solve a problem now that's outside of your property? So you're just helping them find property, middle of nowhere somewhere. It doesn't matter, it's not your property, but now you're connecting with that relocation specialist. You're building rapport with them. You're helping them by finding claims somewhere else. You get to connect with another operator. Say it's me. You'd be able to say, Christina, you would tell me like, hey, Jess, I found an opportunity. It's a family looking for housing for 6 months. Their budget is 6,000. I see that your place is rented right or is being rented for 4K. For me to do this, I charge a 10% referral fee. Are you okay, giving me 10% of this booking for the next 3 months? If they're cool with it, awesome. You just made yourself 3 grand or whatever it is. Start paying your mortgage down. And you do that with three or four or five different, relocation specialists, helping them find different places in different markets, depending on who you're talking to and what the budget allows. You now have the ability to pay your mortgage that way while still building a relationship with the relocation specialist. So I'd really be thoughtful on that, because again, I don't like when people get stuck in your position right now where it's like 3 months I'm waiting. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Um, but again, it's about being intentional. Specifically intentional about the clients you're going after. And again, you are right now with the temporary housing, but I'd urge you to really again look at a pie chart. We're going to give 30% to that relocation. 30% is going to go to, like I talked about earlier, housing, relocation, people that are moving to a different spot, that are on assignment, business travelers, things of that nature. So, my number three, I'm getting back to this stuff right now, is traveling professionals, medical staff, and engineers. Average rent, you're typically able to 2x, potentially 1.5 to 2x long-term rental rates by going after the staff. Obviously, we know already the healthcare sector isn't paying as well as it once did. Sorry, I got to drink some water here. I got emergency in here too because, as I mentioned, I'm getting sick and I'm a big baby. Um, so traveling professionals, they do pay well. Who are they? I mean, traveling nurses, they're doctors, they're oil and gas engineers, Walmart site developers. I actually have a story about this. I'm going to tell you guys here in a minute. How do we actually attract them? You go list on Furnish Finder, you list on Airbnb, you use direct booking websites like your own. If you have IGMS or Hospitable, you can create your own account. You can add SEO stuff. So, Modesto, 30-day stay property, something like that, where people can Google it. Your place could pop up. People can send you messages or direct inquiries directly to you. Um, Biggest thing with them is if you're on Furnish Finder, I would really be talking to unmatched leads. Those are people that are looking for property, but it might not necessarily be yours. You reach out to them and ask them what they're doing, what job site are they at, what properties are they looking for, and then you start to kind of maneuver your property around to fit them best. Now that's an important piece of the puzzle there. Flexible lease, month to month leases are going to be really good, especially if you're going to be aligning with working contracts where people are on assignment. Those jobs could change. The more flexible you are, the better it is, which is really a lot of help. Um, Marketing your midterm rentals to secure higher paying. This is going to be important. Furnish Finder, we just talked about this a minute ago. Best for business travelers and medical professionals. CHBO, this is really good because it's kind of expensive. Check it out. CHBO's Corporate Housing by Owner. It's a premium housing platform for business housing and or temporary housing folks. You might want to list on there. Christina, that might be a good idea. Airbnb, set for 30 days minimum. That attracts long stay corporate guests, and Airbnb has the biggest platform for reach. We talked about direct booking websites. Building relationships with these companies. You would send them to your website. You'd send them your information. They can go take a look at it. If you're going to start doing these kinds of things, I'd really urge you to put together just a landing page that says what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and maybe a list of the properties that you have and what you actually do. Like you don't need to get crazy and put your booking profile on there. Just talk about what you do so people can go look at it. I think for me, being able to look at a website gives me kind of a proof and validation. It's not hard to get a website together now. You can go to wix.com, wix.com, and create one for like $10 yourself. It's not super hard. I'm not tech savvy, but there's also people that put together websites. So I would just look for that. Fiverr, you can go to fiverr.com and have somebody put it together. But again, list on all those platforms, direct booking websites, Airbnb. Um, I always tell people to list on multiple different platforms to get maximum exposure. Like, yes, we want to get off Airbnb, we want to be able to get our own bookings, but it's a great place to get attract the right people. Um, and that's what I do. I actually pull tenants off of these bigger platforms to actually bring them to my direct booking stuff. So this is how I do it. In fact, I just had a I have a property in Stockton, California, multiple properties over in that area, one in Lodi, which is nearby. And there's a brand new Walmart superstore that's being built from the ground up. Anybody that lives in the Stockton area right now, massive opportunity. There's like people with hard hats walking around all over the place. There's like engineers from everywhere. Anyway, I got a booking for 10 days, excuse me, 8 days on Airbnb. It was 4 international workers that were working. Actually, I'm sorry, it was 3 international workers that were working on assignment. The company was based out of Florida. They stayed at my property for 8 days. I started asking questions like, "What are you guys doing here? How long are you going to be here for? What market are you working in?" And they started telling me they were working on. They had people that were coming from overseas. There's a company that is based out of Florida that's working here right now on assignment, and I asked them, like, what type of housing are you guys looking for? Are you looking to book more properties? And the guy actually told me, yes, we're looking for property that's nearby. There's different groups of people that are coming in groups. So for 1 month, there's a certain amount of engineers that are here. Then they have a certain amount of another engineers that come the second month, and then other engineers that come. So we ended up pulling them off the platform instead of letting Airbnb negotiate the deals and we did everything through there. I actually had them sign a lease where the company was the leasee on the property, not the guest. We background checked everybody that was in there. And we started actually doing all this specific type of, digging on the actual company that they're working for. We ran, a background check on all the folks that were there. Two of them were from out of the country, but they sent passport pictures, all that kind of stuff. Two of them were from Florida. We did background checks on them. But again, the goal is to pull people off the platform. I checked the Brad Street and Dunn or John Dunn and Brad Street number to make sure that they actually were a legit company. We called them and made sure that the people that we were talking to were legit, and they were. They had a bunch of reviews on Airbnb. This company, what they do is they just find a person to work with, and they will send different clients to them, and they'll pull them offline because they know that they can save money. So just on those 7, 8 days that the folks say they paid $2,000, they're actually staying at one of my properties now after we pulled them offline. They moved out yesterday on Sunday, and we're charging them $5,500 a month for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. My mortgage is $1,800. I have about $500 of water, sewer, garbage, gas, electrical. So I'm cash flowing, what is that? Almost $3,000 a month, a little bit more than $3,000 from one 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Came from Airbnb. We pulled them off the platform. So again, I would really encourage you guys to think like that because it's these kinds of bookings happen all the time, and I feel like we just don't. When I say we, I mean I'm lumping this all in this. We just get these bookings, we're excited about them, but we're not actually asking the right questions to get them off the platform. What are they actually doing here? What are they doing on assignment? Think about those kinds of things. I think it's really important. Another thing that's really important as we're talking about this now is managing expenses to maximize profit. Again, I just talked about my mortgage being $1,800, Wi Fi, water, gas, electric, all that's included in there. There is a $500 maximum. So if they go over $500 on electricity, they're going to have to pay the amount that goes over that, which hopefully they don't. These guys work, they were telling me that they work from 5 a.m. to after 5 p.m. So they're usually working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, which is freaking wild. Some really hard workers over there. And again, this is a project that's going to be going on for 18 months in Stockton, California, at a Walmart that's being built from the ground up. So just think about like there's dirt out there. They're starting to lay concrete. They're putting this all together. There's people that work on these job sites. So what's happening in your market right now? So when we talked about Christina earlier with the relocation specialist, hard to find the right person. How much construction is actually happening right now? Ground up stuff that you guys can go on Perplexity or Chat GPT and ask these questions. Hey, where's Walmart creating new super centers? Can you tell me in the next 60 to 180 days or this year, where are they going to be creating these? And we start to ask those questions, start to find out what markets are in. Maybe it's in your market. Maybe that's where you're going to start investing. So I think that's important. Sadie has a question here. I'll just answer this while I'm here. Who do you look for to connect with insurance claim bookings? I'm connecting with relocation specialist. I just went over that whole thing, Sadie. I would make sure to connect with a bunch of different types of clients, not just that one insurance claim. Because one insurance type company, you want to make sure you're like what I'm talking about now. You're reaching out to multiple different agencies, companies, boots on the ground, finding out what's actually happening in your market because you don't want to rely just on those types of claims. They're hard to get. I'm going to keep saying that because if you just list a property, it doesn't mean it's going to get booked. It's one of the most difficult kind of properties to get booked, even if you have connections. Like it's something you kind of get lucky in a way. Families got to see it. They have to have had something devastating happen to them, like lose their home. in a fire, flood, or something like that. So you have to be really thoughtful in that. So anyway, there's another one in here. Another question from Paulo. How do you handle insurance coverage for guests when doing direct booking? I use a company called Wavo. I also have Steadily Insurance for my property. There's a couple different ways you could do this. I mean, those two right there are great. So, Paul, I would really look into Wavo to cover the property while it's being booked. Um, Proper insurance is also another one. Steadily.com is another one I would go check out. So you get insurance for your actual property. And you're going to take down a deposit too, right? You want to make sure you're getting a deposit. You want to make sure you're getting all those things to cover yourself just in case. But I don't want to spend too much time on this, but those are the two that I use. Check them out. You'll probably get a lot of information from them. But also don't get yourself too wrapped up in that idea because what are you actually doing with long term guests? You got to think about the same thing. It's very similar in a lot of way, but again, you are right. I usually have cleaners come in every week. They're keeping eyes on the place. If not every week, every other week, or even once a month. So cleaners go in, get to take a look at the property. It's in our lease terms. They have to go in there and take a look at these places. So keep that in mind as you guys are continuing to build. I'm going to get back to this, what I was talking about now. Let me see, where was I at? My notes. Managing expenses. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, make sure that you have, all you're taking care of Wi-Fi, gas, electrical, that you put a certain amount. If they go over that, that they're gonna be paying that difference on that. And I think that's really important to do that. So scaling, expanding, this is gonna be important for more than one property. You guys are all gonna start off with just one. We've all started off with just one. Once you've locked in 3 properties and you want to scale to even higher amounts, you have to make sure that you systematize your cleaning. You have a crew, you have maintenance crews, your guest communication. Are you handling that? Are you reaching out on a regular basis? Are you actually the person doing it, or do you hire somebody? Are you bringing somebody else onto your team? That's one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, whether it's Airbnb or midterm. You got to systematize cleaning, maintenance, guest communication. That's a big time suck once you get started. Securing corporate clients and insurance claims for stable bookings, you have to start doing that. I know I talked about it as being difficult. This is why this takes time. But as I mentioned before, if you're able to help other people in different markets and maybe you get a referral fee for it, you're starting to generate income there. I actually have students that are in my class that are doing 6 figures a month, and all they do is connect people from one to another, to another, to another, literally getting hundreds of leads all across the US. Now, when you get these leads like this is where you are able to build that relationship where they do if you're in Sacramento, somebody gets a Sacramento claim, you're always going to get it because you're the go-to person that's helped them in all these other markets. It's really important to think about. Um, I think again, as you start to expand, you start making, 10K a month from these 3 properties. It takes time, but you're being extremely intentional, as we mentioned a minute ago, who we're going after, how we're connecting. But once you start expanding 5+ properties, generating 15 to 20K a month, that's where you want to start to build those direct booking relationships where you can start eliminating platform fees, where you can start actually, you'll get this book of business that comes through. People will start reaching out to you. It took me, and I'll be super honest about this. While I had my W-2 job, I started in 2015. I probably felt secure enough in 2019 to be able to like start to leave my Airbnbs. Like I wasn't really worried about if I got booked on Airbnb anymore because I had enough referrals that were coming through already. That's 4 years, guys. That's 4 years of building something. And keep in mind that was part time because I was working a W-2 job as I was building this. And a lot of us are going to do that. Are going to have W-2 jobs as we're continuing to build. But I want you to have a long enough roadway and idea and thought that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years. But again, you are able to fast track this. You guys are listening and watching this. I didn't have this when I first started. I wish there was somebody that I can connect with, just like you guys are here right now, because there's a ton of value to learn for free. And again, it's just taking the ideas and principles and then putting it to yourself in your own work and all those things. So, really important to do that. Direct booking fees, systematize number one, secure your corporate contracts by helping other people in other markets, and once you expand to 5+ more properties, you're generating 15 to 20K a month. Start focusing on building relationships so you can get off the platforms and start getting, eliminating those booking fees. The biggest lesson that I got out of, the 9 years, actually, this is my decade of being in midterm rentals is this year. July of this year will be 10 years that I've been in this space. and I'm going to give you guys some of the biggest lessons that I've learned. Um, go deep and not wide. What I mean by that is a lot of us, real estate investors will try to find these best deals all over the place. It might be one of them might be in Los Angeles, another one might be in San Diego, another one might be in Sacramento, another one might be in San Francisco. That's what wide means when we're bringing this context down. They're just buying properties in random markets. What I happened to do right, and I didn't even realize I was doing this, was that I was buying properties in a market in different zip codes, which we just talked about this a minute ago with Christina, who was talking about relocation. Zip codes matter because somebody might lose a home in a certain market. They might be on the edge of one market. You just have the ability to piggyback different folks in different spaces, and you start to actually build this kind of foundation where you have multiple different properties to bounce off of. If for whatever reason, like I have Airbnb properties that are on Airbnb. If somebody books my property for a short stay and I get a midterm rental booking, I can move those people that were potentially going to block my stay to another property that I have and put that corporate housing client or that insurance booking in that property where the Airbnb guest was going to stay. If they're okay with it, or if they're cool with it, we'll give them an upgrade or whatever, whatnot. And this allows me to actually go deep in the market. So I'd encourage you guys to be thoughtful on that. That again, if you're going to grow in one market that you feel is comfortable with. I think it's really a strong move. Again, something that I did unintentionally on accident, and realizing years later that yes, there is a lot of opportunity when you start to do that. In fact, some of the best operators I know, they will build in certain markets, get go deep in that market, and then move to the other place they wanted to go to. So you really build in one market, whether it's short or midterm. I think this is a smart move. And then you go into the next one and you do the same thing, you rinse and repeat, right? Um, I also think that it's really important to make sure that you're focusing on premium tenants that pay more and stay longer. This is stuff we talked about with Christina earlier. Yes, temporary housing is going to do that, right? You're going to get paid more through temporary housing folks that have lost their home due to a fire, flood, but so do corporate housing, business travelers. I just talked to you guys a minute ago about the people that are from Walmart, right? They're building the Walmart. They're engineers that are working on assignment. They have rotating engineers that come through. The company that I work with, this is what they do. They get corporate contracts with companies like Walmart. They send their employees internationally to come work in the specific space. And we have them for a long time. In fact, he talked about doing a 3-month lease now and then having the ability to go up until December of this year. So imagine me being able to make $3,000 a door or from that one door right now all the way till December. That's pretty nice. And hopefully that happens. But again, this is where the flexibility comes in. Do they like the place? They do. It's about 10 minutes from their job site, which is awesome. So again, keep in mind these guys are working from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. They don't want to be driving a long distance to go to that job site and back. In fact, that's a number one thing that I see when people rent properties. Corporate companies that like what we're talking about now, the employers will book a place, and after their 30 days or 90 days is up, they'll say, "Yeah, it's too far. The guys they're driving too far." So make sure that this is why it's important to go deep in a market because you have that conversation. You can move depending on your client. They might be able to stay in another property that's closer to the job site. So again, go deep in a market and don't necessarily go wide. I think that's really important. Let me see where else am I at here on my notes. Um, Focus on premium tenants. We just talked about that staying longer. Secure longer stays. We just talked about that a minute ago. This reduces turnover costs, which is a big deal when you're doing, especially from a guy coming from the short-term rental space. I can have this same property that's booked for $5,500 a month. I can have it booked and make $5,500 as a short-term rental, but after we minus all the cleaning fees that we do, which is it's $200 every turn, that $5,500 would then be reduced down to like 3,500, something like that. So I think a lot of times we don't take into account the cleaning fees that get added sometimes in that amount of how much you're actually making. So be thoughtful on that. Okay, so takeaway on this. If anybody has any other questions, put them in the chat box right now. Would love to talk about this a little bit deeper. Um, Making your first 10K a month, 3 properties, I definitely think it's doable. What are you going to want to do? High demand properties in the right location, right? You're targeting corporate insurance, medical folks with premium rates because you have a premium product. You're going to be using Furnish Finder, Airbnb, direct booking sites to land deals. Then you got to manage those, right? You got to manage those. So I really encourage that. Debbie's got a question here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the stream. Hey Jesse, thanks for sharing your expertise with us. Getting my first property ready for midterm rental and finding all your tips very helpful. Super awesome, Debbie. I am excited for you. I think your first property is always going to be, I think it's the most difficult one to start with because you're kind of starting to figure things out. But again, you're here learning all these things in a different way. If you haven't already, go to the free Facebook group that I have. There's literally hundreds and there's thousands of people there. I think over 10,000 people in that group where you can answer questions if you have any. You get stuck, you need a lease or whatever, or lease ideas or something like that. Connect with people on that free Facebook group because there is so many people that are there that are have been a part of my group, my private community. There's a lot of people that have a wealth of knowledge on that specific platform. So, Debbie, congratulations! I always think it's so freaking awesome when people get started, and hopefully we talk a year from now and you got 3 properties and you're doing 10K a month, like we talked about today. So again, the 10K a month process, it's real. It takes time. It takes energy. It's about being intentional. I mentioned to you guys earlier. It took me literally 4 years to get to a position where I felt comfortable enough to leave that assignment and leave my job and all that kind of stuff. So um, yeah, I think it's really really important. Marissa just says everyone talks about farming, vacays, evolve, etc. properties. How do you go about doing that exactly? Wait, say that again. Marissa, can you explain that again? Farming vacancies slash evolve. Are you talking about like the property management company evolve? I wish I could just pull you up on stage right now. Be like, hey, Marissa, come in and talk to me on. I don't know if there's a way to do that on here, like Zoom. I'm not sure what I mean by that. Maybe if you can elaborate a little bit. I don't know where to go with that. How do you go about doing that exactly? I need a little bit more context there, Marissa, and I can answer that for you if I get a little bit more context. So hopefully you can give me that. If anybody knows what she's talking about, let me know in the chat box. So I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there, but once she answers it, I will get back to you guys. Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully this gave you guys a little bit of insight on being able to make your first 10K. Okay, Vacasa, etc. Everyone talks about farming, Vacasa, etc. Yeah, I don't. Those companies aren't put together for midterm rentals. They're not midterm. They're just listing on platforms and waiting for people to book. I would encourage you to stay away from that unless you're going to short term rent. If you're going to be using Evolve as a short term rental tool, co-hosting, that's what that would be. Evolve is like they're massive. They're like the Walmart of short term co-hosting. Would I want the Walmart of short term co-hosting company to take on my midterm rental, which is totally different than a short term rental? Absolutely not. Um, this is where you have to be really thoughtful, Marissa, on uh, you know, really thoughtful on connecting with the right people in your market. What I would encourage you to do, Marissa, is go on to I talked about the free Facebook group I have. I would go in the free Facebook group and say, hey, I'm looking for a co-host in my market. You want to have somebody that actually knows how to connect with businesses. And exactly what we talked about today is reaching out to these companies directly. They're looking at actually creating a larger um, direct marketing campaign than Evolve ever will. They're not being very specific like that. Evolve is not going reaching out to companies. They're not checking unmatched leads on Furnish Finder. A boutique co-hosting operator is going to be years ahead of what a big Evolve company is going to do. But I got to go on the Facebook group and say, I'd particularly probably ask for somebody that's been through my academy. I would say, hey, anybody been through Jesse's mastermind? I don't know why I'm doing this right now. I think that's me pretending to type this out, which is supposed to be you doing that, Marissa. But I would definitely just say, hey, anybody that's in my market or nearby, hopefully has been through Jesse's program that understands specifically how to do this because those people are going to look at your property as part of their business. They're going to be super proactive on outbound connections. They're going to be leveraging your property when they're talking to other relocation specialists, business travelers. They're going to be talking about how you can actually, how they can, you know, connect on that level. And these big companies they just don't do that, and nor do they want to. They're too busy for that. So yeah. Anyway, she says, yes, as a co-host, how do I get property owners to transition from Vacasa to Evolve to work with me? Got you. Okay, now I get what you're saying. Okay. All right. I should do a co-hosting video one day because I have a pretty significant co-hosting business. What's up, Danny? Danny's saying, who is this guy? He's my video guy right here saying what's up? What's up, Danny? Hey, I need you to get me those reels, man. I'm waiting for them. Hopefully Danny gets them over to me. Danny, did you hear me? Hopefully you're listening right now. Okay, I'm gonna put this on the stream real quick and so you guys can see this. Okay, this is a good question. I'm gonna give you guys the 1 minute version of how I got my co-hosting properties. This is why it's important to get out in your market. I went on Google and I typed in. Um, I'm gonna try to give you guys the easiest way to do this. Go on Google and just type in realtor agencies or realtors in my market, and just go in to every single realtor's office and ask. This sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Go in and say, hey, what days are you guys having your monthly meetings? I would love to be a part of your sales meeting. I want to talk to you guys about how I can actually help some of your investors make more money with their long-term rentals if they happen to switch to short or midterm rentals. Every realtor on the planet doesn't want to mess with learning how to do these things, running numbers, doing all those kinds of things. So you become the specialist in your market by going out, Marissa, to all these different offices that are out there, PMZ, Century 21, all these offices. Learn how to run numbers really well, where you start to operate your own properties the right way. You're making money from them, and then go in and do little presentations in all these realtors' offices about how you can actually earn their investors more money by doing X, Y, and Z. That's how I built my company. Is I started to literally do that. It took me probably 6 months of going out to these offices all the time, but all it took was one or two well-known realtors to realize what I was doing, to see how I can actually um, help their realtors that are they're underneath them make more money by actually getting investors to see how the potential of mid or short-term rentals. And every time that they had a client that needed to have numbers ran or had a long-term rental that they wanted to make more money from, Marissa, they would call me. Like this realtor would call me and say, "Hey, I have a new client. She's looking at 123 Main Street. What's the potential for earning for a midterm rental?" And then guess what? Now you get start to have that. I can co-host their properties for them. That realtor has that understanding that that's what you do. And they're going to reach out to you every single time. What does a realtor want to do? All they want to do is sell a freaking property. Now, if you could be that person that can now connect with them, they can run the numbers for them, talk to the client, you're comfortable enough to have the conversations, you're well rounded, you've already met them in person at their office, they see the value in you, you'll start to have those clients come to you. That's the best version, a short version I can give you. I'll have to make a video on specifically how I did that, but that's how I built my co-hosting business was that I became the guy in my market that knew how to run numbers and also co-hosted. I was doing it already myself, so people got to see. I got to show them what I was doing, not tell them, right? And I think it's a big difference between the two things. So hopefully, Marissa, that helped you out. Danny's saying I sent half to feed today. Sweet. Okay, cool. Marissa, that's it right there. Get out there and do that. It's there's no secret recipe for it. That's how I was able to build my co-hosting business. And it still pays me dividends today, 10 years later. So all those realtors still hit me up. I still get connected. I still have a lot of co-hosting folks. And I met some investors that actually invested with me in other properties. So those realtors connected with me, investors. Those investors saw me as an asset, as like, man, this guy can actually help me grow, and invested with me in projects. So you have a big opportunity to do that if you become that person in your market. It's a lot easier than you think. Just get out there and learn how to run numbers first. So, okay, cool. Danny, I appreciate you, dude. It just sounds like you sent me half of them today. I'm going to take a look at them. Um, Debbie's question: do you have each of your properties in an LLC and or land trust? I do, but I group them in fours. In fact, Danny and I just recorded a video on that. They're not each in their own separate, but I have a trust. So imagine this right now. If you guys are watching this, I have a trust up here, which is the main company. Then I have four properties on an LLC that are attached to that trust. And then I just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Talk to your CPA. I am not a CPA, but that's how we ended up structuring it because I didn't want to have freaking 50 billion LLCs and have, 20 something properties on all of them. So we decided to go that route. Each CPA is going to tell you something different. And just because I do it this way doesn't mean it's the right or wrong way. I think there's a billion ways to do that. Just talk to your CPA. Debbie, I'm pretty sure they'll be helpful for you. So yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today in this short midterm Monday TED Talk. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, make sure to get your tickets at the midtermrentalsummit.com. And if you're here today and you're like, I want to learn more, I want to build more, I want to create more, I want to work alongside Jesse and his team, I would urge you guys to be a part of our academy, which we help people just like you guys build a successful midterm rental businesses. That's what I've been able to do over the years. That's what I'm good at. And I teach other people how to do that exact same thing. So if you guys are interested in that, just shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect with you guys a bit further. I'm going to go rest because I am not feeling well. I'm getting that bug that every single other person in California has right now. And I do not like it at all. So, in fact, I think Danny got me sick. He was just here. He was sick. So, Danny, I'm going to blame this on you, buddy. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next week on Monday. Hopefully, you guys have a good week. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.